Hi there, I'm Ken Biles, owner of WebSniper Internet Marketing. Most businesses use the internet, the web, to advertise their businesses. They do this by paying Google to put their website up at the top of the listings and getting customers. That works great. Problem is, if you ever stop paying Google, your traffic stops. I'm here to tell you about a better way, using natural organic search methods to put your business website up at the top of the listings of Google without paying them. So let me tell you a story. In December of 2009, I drive a Ford Ranger with a manual transmission, and the clutch went out. I was on my way to work across town, and actually had just left the house, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I find that I cannot get it into gear. It just doesn't. I press the clutch as hard as I can, and it's just not working. Or at least it's really, really hard. I had to just, crank it into gear. So I nursed my truck to work because I had to show up. We were doing a move of a bunch of people, their computer equipment and stuff. We spent the weekend moving them, and this was the first day that we were all going to show up, and we needed to make sure everything worked. So I had to be there. So I worked most all of the day. I came home a little bit early, nursed my truck all the way back across town on the highway with the clutch problem. Got home about 3 o'clock, 3:30, and we all know that nobody uses the Yellow Pages anymore, except as a booster seat for their kids at the kitchen table. So I did what everybody else does. I went online to Google and said, typed in clutch repair. Well, there were several ads on the, up at the top, no organic listings whatsoever. Well, there were organic listings, but they were for Dex or Yelp or, all of the aggregate places that are just listings, more listings of what the Yellow Pages used to be. They're the electronic equivalent of the Yellow Pages. So I clicked on these ads because I didn't have any organic listings to go through. And, everybody knows that the ads at the top, they're not the people who do the best job. They're not the people who are going to give you the best value. They're just the people who paid the most for the ad. If given a choice, people will almost always choose an organic listing, one that Google says, hey, this is what this page is really about. Because they understand that the people who are going to probably do the best job with whatever product or service they're needing are probably also going to be the ones doing the best job getting their website noticed by Google. So I clicked on the first. There were 3 listings there. I clicked on the first one. Guy answers the phone, and the website that I went to, it was a nice looking website. It had all sorts of pretty pictures of gears and things that you would associate with a transmission. Called the number. And the guy says, I told him, I said, my clutch went out, I need to get it fixed. And the guy says, well, and remember, this is, just before the middle of December 2009. I said, my clutch has gone out, and I need to get it fixed. The first thing he says, first words out of his mouth, well, we won't be able to get you in until January. And it's going to be $950. Well, okay, that's not really what I wanted to hear, either of those. So, okay, he can't help me. Hang up the phone. Go to the next listing. Again, it's a nice looking website. It's got an address and a phone number. I call the phone number because it's got no other useful information. Call the phone number, no answer. This is, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, no answer. Apparently they've either gone out of business or they don't need business, one of the two. So I call the third place. And by this point I'm getting kind of discouraged because I've already called 2 places and they can't help me. And I need this to be, at most, I can take maybe a day off work. I really don't want to take any time off work. If they could fix it tonight, I'd be happy. I'd be ecstatic. I would pay them whatever they wanted. I know that's not going to happen this late in the day, but it would be fantastic. So call the third place, and I say, I have a problem with my transmission, need to get it fixed. First things he says, what is it doing? It wasn't, hey, we can't do it. It wasn't, it'll cost you this much. What is it doing? He cared enough to ask, what is happening with your what is your problem? That's really what he's asking. What is your problem? How can I help? That's what he's asking. Immediately, I was set at ease and said, okay, well, here's what it's doing. The next thing that he said really surprised me. He says, well, okay, because he'd already gotten the information on what kind of truck I have, what year it is, all that stuff. He says, all right, well, you have a hydraulic transmission. Well, I didn't even know that they made hydraulic manual transmissions, or whatever that is, I had no idea. So he says, you got a hydraulic transmission, it has a master cylinder, and it has a slave cylinder. Now the master cylinder is up underneath the dash. If that's the problem, and he says, I can find out in just a few seconds, I'll just reach up there and see if it's leaking. If that's the problem, it'll be about $200 to fix it, because all we have to do is pull it out of the dash and put a new one in. Parts, $112, and the rest of it's labor. No big deal, a couple $100. Well, at this point, I'm thinking, great, I hope it's the master cylinder. He says, if it's the slave cylinder, well, that's up underneath the bell housing inside the transmission. We'll have to drop the transmission, and it's going to be a lot more. He said, well, okay, I understand. I know enough about cars and transmissions to know that, you can't just, you have to drop the transmission, and I know that if you pull the transmission out, it's going to be a whole lot more expensive than reaching up underneath the dash. What he had done, and so he says, can you drive it? I said, sure, I drove it all the way home. He says, well, all right, can you make it here? Can you bring it over tonight? I said, sure. I was expecting, in the morning. Can you bring it over tonight? Absolutely. Now, as it turns out, he literally is down the street, but I would have driven across town through rush hour traffic to go see him because he cared, okay? Whether he really actually cared or not makes no difference. He related that he cared. What is your problem? Here's what we can do to fix it. One of two things is going to happen, and we can fix either one. One's going to be less expensive than the other, but he took the time to actually talk to me and find out what the problem was. Now, I think you'll agree that that's what a person should do when a customer calls you. What about when they're looking at your website? When they're looking at your website, wouldn't it be better if they could get some of that information long before they ever call you? Where you can give them valuable information that they're looking for. Remember, these people are looking for information. They're not looking for pretty pictures. They're looking for, how can you solve my problem? Because that's really what it comes down to in a business relationship, a business-customer relationship. Customer has a problem. My toilet is stopped up, my roof leaks, my car won't run, got a problem. And it's your job to fix it. How can you fix my problem? That's really what they want to know. So, what if you could do that on your website? What if you could help fix their problem by giving them valuable information that is relatively general? Doesn't have to be specific to a specific problem, but a general, how to, reminders that they should check their transmission fluid in their automatic transmission when they check their oil. Reminders of how often they should change the automatic transmission fluid in their car. Reminders of, let's say a way to tell them, let's say you run a business that does roofs, you re-roof houses. You could give them information on the fact that you charge by the square, and here's a rough estimate on how to, here's a way to roughly estimate how many squares you've got in your roof. So you've got a ballpark figure on how much it might cost. Or how long will it take for a crew to show up at their house? And once the crew does show up, how long will it take to actually do the work? These are things that people are looking for. This is information that people want to know. They don't want to look at a pretty picture of a nice house with a beautiful roof. That doesn't tell them anything. That tells them that you went online somewhere to a graphics department and you bought a bunch of pictures. They want to know what's in it for them. How are you going to make my life better? That's what they want to know. And that's what your website should tell them. And by doing this, by giving them this information, you're actually making it easier for Google to find you and rank you much higher in the rankings, and thereby getting more customers. Because we all know that they're going to go to the organic listing, even if there's only one, they're going to go to that one listing before they go to the advertisers up top. People want to know that you can do the job, that you are the best at that job, and that they can trust you. And by giving them the content, the information that they're looking for, by giving them this valuable, to you it's not all that valuable, it's just standard stuff everybody in your industry knows, but the consumer doesn't. So by giving them this valuable information, you're actually helping your website to get ranked higher and bring in more customers like them. Now I know what you're asking yourself. Does this really work? Well, I can tell you it does. Of course, me telling you isn't going to prove anything. I have a personal website that I have up, and that I checked the numbers for 2010. In 2010, my personal website had an average of 200 unique visitors every day for the entire year. You do the math. 200 a day times 30 days in a month. That's 6,000 unique visitors. And this isn't a website with high value or competitive keywords. It's simply a website that has some useful information to a small segment of people who are looking for it. Does this work? Absolutely. And the proof is, if you're watching this video or reading the page, you know it does because you found me in one of the top 3. One of my pages has been, you found one of my pages in the top 3 listings at Google. Because, let's face it, nobody looks past the first 3 listings. Does it work? Absolutely. I don't pay Google. I don't pay any of the search engines. I don't pay anyone to put me on top. I do that myself. So, basically, what I'm saying is, take a look. Using the buttons on the side here, take a look around my website. See what you think. If your business can use more customers, why don't you contact me and we'll talk about what I can do to help your business grow and become more profitable. It's really just as simple as an email or a phone call. It's all about the relationships. Thank you for looking to this video.